and his members about these cars. So we will start first with Naresh Pratap Singh. He's the president of the Jamaica Classic Car Club. And he's going to start by telling us about the club and what they do and where do they get all these wonderful looking cars, etc. And for some of you who are driving old cars and calling them old cars, they might be classic cars and you may want to restore them to that fame. So go ahead, please, President.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thank you for having us today. We're delighted to be here. A nice evening, great event, and we're real happy to be here. The classic car was actually founded in the 80s, and we've continued from there through various presidencies and different eras. You know, there were times when we had a meeting and we had 5 cars. It was a great meet, you know. Other times it was 12 cars and they were great. And then now, you know, at our Oak Gardens event, for example, we have, you know, over 80 cars. So it depends on the day, but we have good turnouts typically at different venues that we have. Well, the club is really about sharing and appreciation for classic cars, vintage cars, exotics, bikes, I mean anything antique pretty much. We hang out, we talk, you know, there's good camaraderie, there's good healthy, you know, positive vibes there. So it's really a club where we can, you know, have some fun, safe fun with some old cars, you know, classic cars. So that's pretty much it. Where the cars come from, they come from all over the world, right? Many of us own cars that were here before, you know, in the country. That we bought from other persons who were getting rid of them. Some of us bought them new, some of us bought them used. But all of us have the desire to have them, you know, restored to great running condition. Some of us have succeeded, some are in progress. So it's a variety of cars, as you can see. Some are newer than some are more rare than others. You know, so every car is different, and we have an appreciation for all of them.
Okay, who are the ones that do the restoration, or do you have a league of persons who do that? Or do you do your own restoration? How does it go?
Well, it's a little of everything. I've done some of our own restoration on some of the cars. Other people have a garage that they send their cars to. We kind of fast track our restoration. So in other words, I do what I can on the car. We have somebody who paints it, we have somebody who does the body work. We have somebody who does the mechanical. Typically I would do the electrical, but it all depends. Other persons, you know, they give their car into a garage, maybe 3 or 4 years they get it back later. We're not into that. So for example, for us, every single car was painted by somebody different. It's who we could find at the time was available, who we think would do a good job, and we let them do the job, right? We pay them whatever they wanted, and we you know, there's some negotiation, but basically that's what we did. The body work too is tricky. We've been having trouble with body people because, for example, the Chevy over there, it's at least 7 body men worked on that car. And everyone criticized the one before. So eventually got to a point where we said, that's it, we'll accept it as is, and you know, that's it. The Mustang, for example, one guy worked on that car, one body man, and he did everything. Half of the panels on the car are new, and you would never know. Right? That was a real good guy. But they were both painted by 2 different persons. So
I'm taking it that the Chevy is the yellow one?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, to have to wait 3 weeks for a car to the body work must require a lot of patience. We have a member in the Orchid Society who put out her car, it didn't come back in a week, and she was happy mad, threatening to sue.
Wow.
So,
Wow,
maybe because it is not a classic car.
Yes, we get that too. The non-classics essay are easier to work on for some reason. We don't see the reason, but I mean,
Well, I don't know if the reason could be matter of parts. How do you get parts? Maybe Gerald can tell us how we get parts for these cars that are older than myself in some cases.
A lot of times these parts are imported because you cannot get them not locally. So we usually import them either from
US or UK, typically, yes. Typically, yeah.
Yeah.
And the manufacturers, the manufacturers are licensed manufacturers of parts, still produce the parts for these cars?
Answer that one.
Okay. So you have different standards. You have some manufacturers that actually do the original parts still. I believe Mercedes-Benz does that. You can actually buy all original parts. But there are other people, they call them reproduction parts. They manufacture those parts for these cars. And they're almost as good, or in some cases better, than the original.
Okay.
Yes.
You know, I was talking to Courtney Cole earlier. He tells me that he's a member, and he's what you call a classic member. So I don't know if that is a full member or what, but he just says he's a classic.
That's Gerard.
No, Courtney. No.
Thompson.
Which Courtney is it? Oh, you were telling me that Courtney Thompson is a classic person.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. And that he had some kind of accident
Yes. Right behind you.
with his right fender or something like that. Okay, yeah. I know Bull Thompson, you know, we went to KC together, so I would not believe that he's a classic at this point in his life. Okay, so how many members do you have in your club?
We have over 200.
Wow.
Paid up is a different story. So we've been trying to have a membership drive of some sort. But this year I think we'll get a better handle on it. But typically, yes, it's over 200.
Okay, is it possible to perhaps take a walk and look at some of the serious
Sure.
classic ones?
Sure.
Maybe talk to a few of the drivers. I hear that Captain Winston Marshall, a former Air Jamaica pilot, is a classic car owner and driver.
Yes, that's all you're asking about that.
Yeah, he has been driving a classic car from he was in the army. I remember he used to call it a purple period. I do remember what kind of car it was. So Mr. Cole, we'll get back to you in a minute. We will look at some of these cars. What makes this almost brand new Audi a classic car?
Alright, so these Audis were in limited quantities, right? They came out with the 1.8 turbo engine, was it 175 horses, 180 horses. The design of the car was unusual. It's a supercar kind of design, and they eventually made these cars with bigger engines. It came with a 3.2 engine, which is also collectible. So you had the TT, and you had the TT 3.2, and now you have the TT RS, which is a very quick version of the car. But they're more limited than the regular Audis.
What would TT and TTRs mean to the general public?
Well, I know there's some cars that use the RS terminology. I believe it's Ren Sport, some are Rally Sport, but yes, it's an even more specialized sporty version of the vehicle. Usually more horsepower, stiffer suspension, more racing inclined.
Which would be among the oldest cars?
I think this Dodge here, it's a 68 Dodge Dart GTS.
That's a grey one.
Yes, that's the grey one. That's the oldest one here.
Okay. What about that Jeep in the back? I see you have a military.
Oh, I'm sorry.
unit
That's
in the back
cars.
there.
Overall, yes, that Jeep is a 44, I think.
My goodness, before anybody I know was born.
Yes, that's right.
And I see you have some motorcycles as well.
Oh yes, I have some lovely bikes over there. We have a Triumph bike, we have a couple of Ducatis, and we have a Honda as well. Lovely bikes, lovely, lovely.
What are some of the questions you get from visitors to your events about the car?
Wow, you know the typical Jamaican, are you selling it? You know that is
Well,
that is one. Yes,
it
girl.
means that Gerald will have to tell us about what kind of prices we're looking at.
Quite a few of the patrons ask us if they can, how they can join the club. By the way, if you're interested in joining, we have some forms right here. So you can come over and get some forms. Anybody interested in joining the Classic Car Club? Remember, you don't even have to own a classic.
Oh, I was about to ask that question. You don't have to own a classic car to join the Jamaica Classic Car Club. Oh, I see a good gentleman in the back there. Richard, is that you? Yes, sir. Yes. Yes, I see Courtney as well. He's on that. He doesn't want to be associated with anything old or what? Yes.
We get asked quite a lot of questions. You know, a lot of, just as you asked, a lot of them want to know how old the cars are. And some persons ask how they can import cars, how they can get one. Yeah, that's another common question.
How can one import a classic car?
Well, it has to come through the club. So, once it's a certain age, a certain type of car, it has to come through the club. So, typically they would apply for an importation letter, and then there's a fee involved, they pay the fee, and we would give them write a letter.
And what kind of professions do your members have? Are they retired persons? Do they get the time to do all of this, or do they just have an inclination or a love for this kind of thing while they join?
All of the above.
Carry out.
All of the above.
Yeah. It is Richard Simpson, right? And Richard Simpson comes from a family of people who do clocks. And I remember him restoring the clock at the halfway tree and the parish church, crossroads, and the parish church downtown.
Yes.
Got it ringing for the first time in, I believe, 30 or 40 years. So he must be able to fix anything in a car if he can do all of that. Since everybody's saying that they were born on the clock when they don't know that well. A clock in every parish. They just don't want to say they come from country or whatever, so they say a born on the clock. Which clock? Tell us about some of the clocks and how that led you to the classic car thing.
Well,
outside of the minute that you right.
Well, what led me to classic cars is that my dad, we came from very humble means, and he had to always be buying broken down cars and restoring them. So from a very tender age, I was attuned or made to help out with washing up parts or that sort of stuff with old cars. So it's always been my love, old and classic cars, because I find that they have more character than the newer cars. You open the bonnet and you don't see anything; it's just pure plastic. Older car, you can see the carburetors, you can see the distributor and the distributor wires and all of that sort of stuff. So I fell more in love with that, and it's just stayed with me forever.
So those people who want the old cars to restore it, to operate like clockwork, they can talk to you because you know what it is all about. And they can probably make them classic cars once they do that.
I can direct them in the right route. I can point them in the right direction. But I do most of my cars myself. But you just do it when you feel like, And most people don't want that. They want the car. They want to know when you can finish the car, when you start, when you finish. I can't give that timeline. It's just when I feel like,
Do you have any restrictions, President Narek, regarding driving around Jamaica and all of that? I asked that question against the background. And having lived in Curacao for some 3.5 years, there is a classic car club there called themselves the Wabi Club. And they participate in every parade. And when they take a drive around the island, which is quite easy, they go in a convoy and they just display their cars on the roads. How does that go? Without toll roads and all that. How do you go?
Well, there are no limitations really, except that the cars are old. So we kind of determine how far it's a safe, safe breakdown-free distance based on the car, per car, I would say. But we've driven these cars at least around town. There are others who drive them out of town, Mandeville, Ocho Rios. So we kind of cover half the island, and we've gone to St. Thomas as well. One of our hosts is here, Mr. McFarlane. He hosted us last time in St. Thomas. So we've gone. This half of the island is covered safely,
Well, that is good to know. I trust you trying to avoid some of the roads which are more challenging in terms of the surface.
Yes.
What are the difficulties cars may have with some of these roads? Although you have wonderful highways.
All right. Well, as you know, all the roads around town, they're awful, full of potholes. The cars, you don't just go to a shop and buy front end parts for these cars. You have to order from, all over the world, depending on the car, right? So the idea is to preserve the cars, right? Because some of the parts are rare, hard to find. Some of them are expensive, right? Some of them may not even be made anymore, right? So the roads need to be better. I think, the cars have a certain caliber. I think the roads now need to match the cars.
We're getting there soon, except you might have to pay a little more on those roads. But St. Thomas is a good choice since they have no toll on those roads.
Right.
But what is your, maybe I shouldn't even ask that question, because I've not heard of a classic car crashing anywhere. Do you have any accidents with these cars based on whatever reason?
None that we know of. None recent that we know of.
It means, therefore, that safety is a significant aspect of your
Yes.
journey as
It
classic
is.
car
It
operator.
is. We drive them safely. I mean, we may have a short burst of speed once in a while, but we drive carefully. I mean, encourage safe driving as well. So.
Right. I don't know that you want to just have a long burst of speed so people
Right.
don't get a chance to see the car. But I know that same Captain Winston Marshall I mentioned earlier, he is a man into safety for a long time now, and being a former JDF pilot and Air Jamaica pilot and elsewhere all over the world.
Yes,
so
he's
he
an
will probably
outstanding
be your
member.
safety officer as
Yes.
a member. He's an outstanding member.
And a historian. He's also a historian.
I think he's hiding way over somewhere, but if you see his ball head shining, or any ball head shining, that's usually with a dark glasses. He has to stop the reflection from his own head.
And he usually wears a shirt that matches his car.
What kind of car does he have?
The last time he drove this Audi, he was wearing his orange shirt. But today he's in a black shirt. Whenever we can spot him.
Yeah, he's probably camouflaged somewhere. And is there any one car here you want to speak about for our audience? Just a brief one before we shut down.
Well, we could talk about that Fortis Willis there, the Jeep. It was found in a tree. It was found in a tree. The vehicle was several feet off the ground, and Mr. Paul Mackay lovingly took it out of the tree and restored it to what you see here now.
Oh, that's another army man here.
Yeah, another army man. And these vehicles, they could be assembled within an hour and a half. They would just send a crate, drop the crate, and you could build the Jeep. It was designed for quick assembly.
Okay.
And here it is, so many years later. Still going.
I think there is a pictorial.
Yes, there are pictures.
Yeah. There's actually a pictorial poster
of how Paul found the car, how Paul found the Jeep, and the process of restoring it. He has it right there, so we can have a look at that also.
Okay, well, gentlemen, it has been a very interesting chat, and I'd like to thank you, President Narish, Richard, and Gerald, members, for having this interview and for telling us about your car and your club. I, at this point, would like to advise the patrons that they can go and see the cars, talk to the drivers, learn some more about them. And if you have any old car that you want to restore to a classic car, this is your occasion to talk to someone else about how this can be done. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Thank you, Arthur.
Good to see you again, Richard. How's your brother?